Hi everyone, Raven here. Today I'm gonna show you a build that is maybe not quote-unquote meta, but it's still a pretty damn good build. It's great for speed farming, it's great for high tier nightmare dungeon and all the way to level 100. And I'm sure that all the Whirlwind enjoyers out there, or for the ones that want to try Whirlwind but they don't wanna try the regular meta version of it, this might be the build for you. It's heavily focused on crowd control, especially with slows and frozen. We are gonna froze a lot of enemies thanks to the new item that was added for the Barbarian, the one-hand sword, the Azurewrath. I'm gonna use also another couple of unique items, which some of them won't be 100% necessary to make the build work. But yeah, let's jump in and let's see what's the build about. How the build works exactly? Well, we are gonna triple stack attack speed, critical strike chance and critical strike damage. Of course, through our gear, our Paragon board, our skill tree, but also our expertise. Because if you see in our arsenal for the Barbarian and the 100 sword, we are gonna use the two-handed weapons for the Whirlwind and for our basic attack launching strike, but we are gonna use the dual wield with the sword. Why? Well, because here, lucky hit. 10% chance to gain 5 fury when hitting a crowd control enemies. We always crowd control enemies in all multiple ways, with our boots, with our Azurewrath, with our shouts, with our true taunting, with our slow and bleeding. So they are always crowd control, and double this chance when using two swords. And we do use two swords, so it's gonna be basically a 20% chance to gain 5 fury. Also, killing a crowd control enemies grants 15 increased attack speed for 3 seconds, double this amount when we using two swords. So it's 30% attack speed stacking over already high attack speed. That's pretty darn good. For our technique, we are gonna use the two-handed mace, so we're gonna get even more fury generation. And it's gonna be double when we are going berserk, and we are pretty often berserking. So that is the reason why we are gonna use the dual wield for our Whirlwind and for our basic attack. For the gear is pretty straightforward. There isn't necessarily anything that is mandatory for this build. Of course, the main item of this build is Azurewrath, and you need at least that item in order to trigger the freeze status on your enemies. It would be even better if you have Frostborn for your gloves. As you can see, I don't have them, and the build still works. You will see that my gear is still not 100% perfect as is suggested in the build. It's still a work in progress, but the build still works. That being said, for the Helm you will need cooldown reduction, total armor, strength and maximum fury. And for the aspect you will need Iron Blood. The chest, we're gonna use the Rage of Harrogath chest, since the unique aspect of this chest works great for our build. It reduces the cooldown of the non-ultimate skills when we inflict bleeding on the enemies, and we do inflict bleeding 100% of the time with our Whirlwind. If you don't have it, or for some reason if you don't wanna use it, you're gonna use a chest with ranks in challenging shout, damage reduction, total armor and strength. For the gloves, you will want Frostborn gloves that they will maximize your chances to freeze your enemies, but I still don't have them, so I'm using these gloves. And in this case, you want gloves with attack speed, critical strike chance, lucky hit chance, which will increase the chance to freeze your enemies, and the ranks on Whirlwind. For the legendary aspect, we're gonna use grasping Whirlwind. For your pants, you want damage reductions, either bleeding, distance enemy, close enemy, just straight damage reduction, and also you want strength and the ranks to Warcry if you can. And for the legendary aspect, you want Numbing Rough. For our boots, we are gonna use Penitent Grave, since the unique ability works great for our build. If you don't wanna use them, or if you don't have them, that's fine, the build will still work. You're gonna use boots with movement speed, fury cost reduction, movement speed after killing an elite, and strength. Legendary aspect, you want to use Ghost Walker. For the Amulet, as you can see, I'm still using the Amulet from my Thorn build because I couldn't drop a good one for this build, but in any case you will need an Amulet with cooldown reduction, fury cost reduction, damage reductions, and the legendary aspect you want Disobedience. Rings. For your rings you have different choices. It depends also how your build works and what gear did you drop. And if you need more fury generation, even though that being said, this build, the Paragon board and the skill tree, and also the legendary aspect, you shouldn't have any problem at all with the fury regeneration. But in case you are starving for some fury, you might want to put in your aim for rings with resource generation. My suggestion though is having rings with critical strike chance, critical strike damage, damage to close enemies, and lucky hit chance. But again, in case you need more fury, you can switch the lucky hit chance with resource generation. For the legendary aspect, you want Bold Chieftain for one ring and Echoing Fury for the other ring. For your two-handed mace, you will want critical strike damage, damage to close enemies, vulnerable damage, and strength. And the legendary aspect, you want Limitless Rage. Also guys, very important, for your weapon, the damage per second of your weapon, it's not as important as your stats rolls in your weapons, especially for the two-handers. So if you drop, let's say, a 780, 760 weapon, but it has really good stat roll, even superior of a weapon that is 800 plus, don't hesitate to switch it. Because again, the stat rolls are more important than the weapon damage. For the two-handed slashing weapon, we want the two-handed sword. Critical strike damage helps, and for the stat rolls, we want critical strike damage, damage to close enemies, vulnerable damage, and strength. Legendary aspect, we want Dire Whirlwind. They are the core item of the build, which is Azurewrath, the unique sword that was added this season for the Barbarians. The unique aspect of this sword says that your core skill have up to 20% chance to freeze enemies for 3 seconds and deal cold damage to them. It works pretty well, and it adds a lot of crowd control to this build. Diablo 4 unfortunately has a lot of screen cluttering. There is a lot going on the screen, lots of effects, game effects, stacks on each other. Lots also numbers everywhere, vulnerable words, fortified words, all stacking on each other on top of you and the mobs. And sometimes seeing what's going on, especially with a build like this, it's not easy. But you will notice once in a while, fairly often, enemies popping around in shattering highs, and this is when you will understand that Azurewrath is working. For the one-handed sword, we are gonna use, as I anticipated, the Ramaladni. It works pretty good for this build. We are gonna stack through our Paragon board a lot of fury, and it's exactly what that sword is for. As you see, if you read the legendary aspect of this unique item, it says the skills using this weapon deal 0.2% increased damage per point of fury you have, but you lose 2 fury every second. That won't be a problem, because we will generate a ton of fury thanks to our shouts, rings, and the legendary aspects, gear, stats, and also, as I said, in the Paragon board. So the fury generation won't be a problem. Works pretty well for this weapon. If for any reason you don't have it or you don't want to use it, that's fine. The build will still works great. You will have a sword with critical strike damage, damage to close enemies, vulnerable damage, and strength, And for the legendary aspect, I would suggest accelerating, since the critical strikes with core skill increase your attack speed for 5 seconds, and that works great for this build, because once again it's a triple stacking build with attack speed, critical strike chance, critical strike damage, and this aspect works great. It adds a ton of extra attack speed. Our gems, we're gonna use Sapphire for the armor. They give damage reduction, critical strike damage with our emeralds for all the weapons, cage hearts in our jewels. It doesn't matter, put them in, it doesn't matter, use either ring or amulet, but you're gonna use the barber, revenge, and focus rage. For our skill tree, we're gonna use launching strike. Hence launching strike for a little bit of heal. Launching strike is great because it adds us a lot of mobility, it's like a mini teleport. Of course, Whirlwind, our core skill with Furious Whirlwind, which applies bleeding when we use a slashing weapon. We use the slashing weapons all the time since we are gonna use our dual wield swords, so we apply bleeding all the time. Pressure point, which increase our vulnerable chance when we use our core skill. Of course, the 3 shouts. We're gonna use Running Cry with Strategic Running Cry, which you gain additional life as Fortify. Channeling Shout with Tactical Channeling Shout, which increase a little bit of Fury generation. I'm gonna use Warcry with Mighty Warcry, which grants 15% life as Fortify. I'm gonna use the 3 passive that increase the performance of our shouts. Booming Voice, Duration, Ride Leader for life regeneration, and Go to Royale for damage reduction. Aggressive Resistance for more damage reduction while berserking. We are berserk very often. Then we're gonna use Spitfighter for more damage reduction for close enemies and distance enemies. We're gonna use No Mercy. This is very important because it works with our triple stacking build. Attack speed, critical strike chance, critical strike damage. In this case, No Mercy for critical strike chance increase when enemies are immobilized, stunned, and slowed. Our enemies are slowed all the time. Why? Because we use Hamstring. Hamstring says that your bleeding effect also slow enemies by 20%. They are always bleeding thanks to our Furious Whirlwind, which we apply the bleeding with our Chua swords, which trigger Hamstring by slowing them, which trigger No Mercy, which increase our critical strike chance. Thick Skin with counter offensive for increasing damage 12% when fortifies 50% over our maximum life, pretty much always. Damage reduction while fortified. Duelist, attack speed is increased by 9% while using one-handed weapons, and that's exactly what we do. We use one-handed weapons when we use our Whirlwind and our basic skill, so that works great. Extra attack speed, remember, attack speed stacking. Temper Fury for a little bit of maximum fury for our Ramaladni, so one more damage. And then, since we generate and we spend a lot of fury, we are gonna heal 9% for each 100% fury spent with Invigorating Fury. Our Wrath of the Berserker, and we're gonna use in the hand Umbrella Rage for increasing our damage for 135% by 100% more fury, but we're gonna generate a lot of fury, so that won't be a problem. Let's go over the Paragon board real quick. We're gonna use as a first glyph Territorial, which increase our damage to close targets and the damage reduction from close targets. Physical damage node in here, armor node in here. Then we are gonna go here and we get Warbringer, which for every 75 fury spent, remember we spent a lot of fury, we gain 12% of maximum lives as Fortify. So we're gonna have a lot of Fortify generation. Then we get Exploit, because of course increase the damage, but most important it's the bonus. When enemies damaged by you, they become vulnerable for 3 seconds. This cannot happen more than 20 seconds, but won't matter, that would be enough. We are basically gonna make our enemies, thanks to this and our skill tree, vulnerable all the time. So we're gonna increase all the nodes that increase our physical damage. Fury, it is. This is very important for our Ramaladni, because we are gonna increase our maximum fury, and if you remember, the Ramaladni increase the damage the more maximum fury we have, and also in here as well. Not only we have more maximum fury, but we do generate more fury on kill, so that works great. Even more fury generation. If we start with Warbringer exploit, we go Flawless Technique, Ambidextrous, because that works great for our dual wield one-handed swords, because it grants 125% bonus to all magic nodes, and also the additional bonus, you deal 8% damage while wielding one-handed sword, so it's 8% for each sword. Then we get some more critical strike damage with one-handed, since we're going to use one-handed sword with our Whirlwind, and damage reduction from close enemies. Oops. Critical strike damage here, and then we go here, we get Decimator with Martial. Martial is always a Barbarian classic. We're gonna get the bonus on the 25% bonus to magic nodes, but also we have a damage, a cooldown reduction when we use our shouts. Vulnerable damage here, damage reduction here, more physical damage, since Whirlwind is the physical damage. We're gonna get vulnerable damage here more, and then Breaker with Wrath increase our critical strike damage 7.5% for each fight dexterity, but also with additional bonus, critical strikes generate 3 fury, and we do have a lots of crits, so that works great. And for the rare node, so we give some damage reduction while healthy. Health is 80% above our health. The Weapon Master, we have a last glyph because he Undaunted, which increase our damage while fortified. We are fortified all the time, and additional bonus, we're gonna gain damage reduction the more fortified you have. Last final rare node is gonna be an increase in physical damage and strength, and as well in armor. So how the build works exactly? Well, the build is pretty straightforward, it's nothing complicated. You just pop your shouts at the beginning and you will start generating a lot of fury right off the bat. And that's pretty much it, really. You have, with a lot of attack speed, you're gonna hit a lot of times, so you're gonna have a lot of cooldown reduction, thanks to the chest, the Rage of Harrogath, and also with your shouts, with your bolt shift and stuff. You can use your Wrath of the Berserker in when you are in tricky situation, you wanna get rid of big packs of elites. And that's pretty much it. Again, the build, as you can see, it's very easy. There is nothing crazy about it. Other than that, yeah, it's pretty easy. Again, you use your shouts, you use your Wrath of the Berserker if necessary, or Lunging Strike. It's used mostly only if you're really starving for fury, or if you need some little bit of extra mobility. That it's pretty good. As you can see, also the boots, they are Divinity's Trail of Ice, that basically chills the enemies and increase our damage. So it's also smart to like walk around the enemies so you can chill them to increase your damage. And that's pretty much it for how the build works, really. Here you have it. Thank you so much for watching my video, guys. I hope you enjoy the video and the build. For the ones that try it out, let me know how it goes. If you have any request or need any help, just write in the comment section below and I will be happy to help you out. It's been a little bit more than a week that I do this stuff, and the channel has been popping off, guys. I cannot actually believe it, how much it's been growing in terms of subscriber and viewers. So that's pretty crazy, and it's been a blast. Once again, thank you so much, and if you like what you see, just like, subscribe to support the channel, and then see you guys next time. Bye bye.